All right. We're on. Good evening, everyone. Or could you hear me whispering to Rob? What are you doing? What's going on? We just rebooted computers and routers and everything at 5 to 8. That was cutting it very fine. Good evening, everybody. We're going to blame that storm. We're going to blame the storm we had this morning that went through here. It was amazing. Good evening, Sue, Fiona, Diane, Francis, Yvonne. Good evening. Denise, Liz, Yvonne Chapman's here too. Good evening. Janine, hello to you. Yeah, we did the full Asian thing this evening. Just went all out. Well, okay, I also had the geisha up for a Quilters Life Girls today. So we were doing stuff. So I thought we'll just leave them up. I'll whack on the jacket and we'll make it a night. What have I got? Bernadette, hello to you. Del, Maria Sapita, good evening. Maria, cookie recipe. That's all I'm saying. 2 words. Cookie recipe. We need to talk. No pressure. Joe, good evening. Who have I missed? Terry, hello in Harvey Bay, and Karen. Good evening to you. Denise Castles is in the building. Doreen Brooks, I know where you are. And I know where you live. I know where you all live, really. I just have to go and have a look on the computer. Kathy, good evening to you. Yes, we are all dry. Now, the hair's a bit flat tonight because I did some filming and then it rained again and then I went outside and went, it doesn't matter. Show 8 o'clock. So we've foofed it, but it's not as good as it should be. Chris Otto, good evening to you. Jimmy, hello in Tassie. Deb Wilkie, hello in South Australia. Maggie, good evening to you. Sylvia, how are things up your way? Cheryl, Lois, Elizabeth, saw your lovely comment on Quilters Life, thank you. And Donna, hello to you too. Right, big night. First of all, jacket is brought to you by the Salvation Army. And give me a minute. There's so many when I go out with Margaret. There's so many times. I think Pakenham. But you know how when you find something, you go, oh, that's perfect for an event or a show or something, and you go, why would someone part with that? And then you don't try it on until 5 minutes before the show and you go, oh, that's why. So I'm actually held together with a very high quality Prim's quilting safety pin this evening, just so you can't see the very tight red camisole I've got underneath. But yeah, I discovered that at the last second. Janet, good evening to you. Catherine Douse, good evening. Hope you're all dry. Oh yes, so we had the thunderstorms and we've sent them north up the coast. So we're very happy to be rid of them, I must say, and I apologise if you've now got them on the Central Coast. But Ginny was not happy, Chookies were not happy, everyone was either huddled under a lemon tree or right on top of my feet. It was too hot for that today. Karen Carter just tuned in, but we're in the middle of another thunderstorm. Yes, good idea to tape the show. And that's why I was a bit late getting filming done this morning as well, because the thunder hit and I thought, I do not want to get halfway through putting on a reverse applique moon for a geisha and the power go out, so we didn't do it. All right, so this evening is an interesting one because it's sort of the end of an era, but then the era of the Oriental Baltimore has a very long, intrepid history. So this evening, I'm not going to say goodbye to the Baltimore because I have a feeling it's going to Spain with me now for Madrid in October. So it's a little perennial favourite of ours. So we're going to go through it this evening and talk about the assembly techniques for it. But along the way, we'll also talk about a few little tips for any blocks that you want to put together that have angled corners on them. And we'll talk a little bit also about quilt as you go as an alternative. So I just want to do that. Also, there's a couple of things that we haven't actually covered in the quilt yet, which are these little, goodness me, kanji blocks. If you can't see the mess in here, and the mess resembles my sewing room next door because I've spent most of my day in here, so it's taken on a very similar appearance this evening. Lynn, good evening to you. Hi Lisa. I'm cracked, but no. Petra. Oh, are you okay, buddy? We'll have a chat tomorrow. I know what that cryptic message means, so we'll have a chat for sure. Who's in Healesville? Someone's in Healesville. It's my hometown. Who's in Healesville? Wasn't happy either. Good evening. Oh, Chris. Love Healesville. I've just seen the Love Healesville. Love Healesville. Pine Avenue, Healesville. Lavender Farm. You can Google it. It is now a farmstay B&B. Same people that purchased it off Mum and Dad a long time ago. How long ago? 25 years ago. There you go. That's where I'm from. So, we've got these kanji that are on here. So we'll have a quick chat about those. Now I'm going to talk a lot tonight about A Quilter's Life, because once we've done this evening's, I'm actually setting a deadline that all information on the Oriental Baltimore will be coming off, because it's not fair on the girls that support us and pay their subscription each month, which is the price of pretty much 2 or 1.5 now cappuccinos, but to have all that information and then have someone new come in. So there's a deadline that needs to be set for when all the Baltimore will come down off A Quilter's Life. So if you want to get on there and get the most out of what we've done recently in the Baltimore, please, so I'm getting really serious now, please hop on, join up, get your money's worth, and then stick around for a while, because we've got lots more to do this year. So I'm going to talk about it a bit tonight, because we've got a lot going on A Quilter's Life with both the quilts behind me at the moment. So these little kanjis are spring, summer, autumn, winter. You can't see the last one because of Bernie, sorry. But spring, summer, autumn, winter. So feel free to use them anywhere you want to for anything else that you want to make as a seasonal gesture or gift for someone. On this particular quilt, I have stitched them on with I'm winging it now, 3 strands in backstitch. So in the pattern, you've got these in here. Now, can't see that, can you? If I hold it like that, there you go. So you've got all of those bits in there. If you're in A Quilter's Life, that's already up for you. If you have been buying it as a casual club with the patterns, it's not there yet. Just a little oversight that I hadn't done, so I need to get that up for you onto the website. And it's a special one. It's a Stevie thing, because I still haven't learnt how to do anything without it adding postage. It's got to include postage. So I will be able to get him to do that on the weekend for me. So please just wait. I'll pop it up and put a little post up when it's up there for you. So we'll get that up, and then you're going to be able to finish the whole thing. I just want to say now as well, along the way in the history of this quilt, and this quilt was the whole reason that we moved our business out of the house in the first place a long time ago, because I wanted to run it as a block of the month, just to see what a block of the month was like. And I thought, look, if I get about 25 ladies, that would be lovely. It was advertised in a patchwork and quilting magazine, and I think it went maybe to the first Sydney show or something like that. And then 2 months later, I had 250, and so we had to move out and get our little shop that came up in Quay Street by Morris, where we were for 9 years. And so it has a long history, and as you know, we've made 3 of them. So made a lot. I did a cream one, didn't I? Background one. I'm looking at you all down the camera because I know that some of you will have done it. And 2 black ones, and one of course with Natasha at the moment, which I'll pick up when I'm in the UK. Along the way, Susan Howarth did hers as a bed runner. And so she took 5 of them and ran just a whole strip of them, and they went across on the bottom of her bed, and she used 3 of the others to make cushions. Yeah, that's right, 5 and 3. Yeah, 8. I don't know which one she skipped, but it looked amazing. So if you've got all your blocks and you don't know if you want to do the whole quilt yet, that's one great option for you. And I'm trying to think, Shirley down in Black Rock. What did Shirl do? Shirl did it as a triptych. So she actually did not join them all together. She left all of this out, and she actually just ran all 3 of them as separate banners and hung them together on a beautiful rich coloured wall. And I have suspicion it was dark red. Don't quote me on that, but I know that it was a coloured wall. And that also looked really lovely. I had one lady, oh, she's in the US, sorry. Jennifer Lee, has them also hanging as a triptych from an upstairs balcony, hanging down on the railing, you know, as you do on a landing. That was a bit whiz-bang. So you don't have to make them all up if you don't want to into a whole quilt. I personally, if I had my time again to do them, and I may have already mentioned this, my favourite thing to do, if I could, one, I'd have to find the couch that was wide enough, and two, I'd have to find the time. It's probably easier to find the couch than the time. I would do them again. I don't know if I'd do all of them. Let me think about it. I'd probably do at least 5 of them, and I would do them on a dark, rich red background, and they would all be in blacks, greys, whites, and silver. And I would put them on a Chinese, Japanese style wooden, like a Jacobean bench seat with the curved edges, you know, the ones I mean, and just have them all sitting on there. That's my dream of what I would do with them. Now, I'm not going to get to do that, but when we move on and we do the Japanese Baltimore, yeah, there's another one. When we do that one, I might get my chance. I'm not quite sure, because I'm going to run that one with ombres. So we shall see. But that's what's next on the agenda. And the Japanese one are non-floral. So there are botanical ones in there, but there's butterflies, cranes, money purses, a few other things. So that's what you're going to be able to do. So just remember that if you've got all your blocks, you may just decide that you don't want to do the whole thing. Who's here now? Pam Stanton. Yeah, it's a dream, Pam. It's a good pipe dream, isn't it? Felicity. Oh, thanks, mate. Do you want to borrow it? I thought you might. Goody. Elizabeth's here. Hello, Elizabeth. Mel, good evening to you. Now, Elizabeth, Jimmy and I often catch up in comments somewhere else in the universe. Oh, Fiona, he needs a treat. He needs a treat. Pat's here. Good morning in the UK, Pat. Thank you very much for joining us. It's lovely that you could be here. I'll talk to anyone from the UK, because we're going to NEC for, that's the National Entertainment Centre. I can't even say it now. We're going to NEC for the FOQ, Festival of Quilts. Fun fact, I'm in big trouble because I didn't do some deadlines today. But I went into a bit of a whirl. We found out our pallet going to England has to leave 3 weeks earlier. 3 weeks earlier. And for those of you that are soiree attendees, that means before soiree, not after. Yes, I may have mentioned it the other day, but I'm still reeling over it. So that's got to happen. All right. And then I've left the geisha up tonight as well, because she is constructed quilt as you go, and so I've just left it up there because if I need a little bit of a reference, we can have a little bit of a reference there. So I just thought that's nice, so I can leave her up. Also, this is what is happening in Quilter's life at the moment, and we were on this today, and it's worthy to mention that pretty soon I've got to talk to Cass, but we'll start taking down things that have been up since the end of the year for this. Before the end of the year last year, we'll take down, because again, it's not fair on our very loyal members that all of that stays up too long. So if you do want to join and you want all the cool techniques in this and that, quick, get on there and grab them off, because we played with reverse applique moons today and we've got more to do. Which brings me back to the kanji, believe it or not. You can stitch it out. I think the one with Natasha is satin stitched. Now, if it's satin stitched, it wasn't me. I would have had Emma or a mate satin stitch it for me. It wasn't Wendy. I can't remember who it was. Because I'm just not patient enough to sit and satin stitch, and I'll be totally honest with you. So I would say satin stitch is great. Back stitch is great. You can raw edge applique it on if you wanted to, but if you do that, I would recommend just doing the black with a really small black blanket stitch to adhere them on. But the other way to do them, which we're going to talk about in A Quilter's Life tomorrow, and I said to the team, the members, that we would do a little bit more on shadow applique tomorrow is to actually do these shadow applique style. Now, because they're lovely little fine pieces, so if you're in the club and you've looked at the demo and the chat from today with the instructions, you'll know what I'm talking about, because this moon on here is actually a layer of fairy frost layered over with fine silk organza, and that's what a lot of the members in the club are doing. So this is actually 2 layers, so it softens off the pattern that's actually on. I've got another one here. This is the one that we were talking about and demoing today. But the organza softens. Oh, and we were on a very close up shot today. There we go. So you can just see the pattern. All the team members, all the club members got on my fairy frost, so I'm actually running with pearlescence under mine, which I quite like too. But it just softens off the design. Now there's a few really cool tricks to shadow applique, and that's why we're going to do it in the club tomorrow. And I think we'll probably have a couple of projects later in the year. But if you're on this and you're doing it through the club, stay tuned, because we're going to look at doing these shadow applique tomorrow, and that means you can do really fine stuff. So I'm just going to mention that. Otherwise, go forth with and embroider. We need that for, I've got a little bit of be mindful here, because we need to, I want that as an example as well. And then because I want to chop into one of these bolts, under tonight's banner, and the search word, if you're on a phone, you don't get the banner come up, is Baltimore, obviously. Under tonight's banner, I need to be a little bit more self-disciplined with you. When I put things under the banner, it shouldn't always be that they're on special. It should be just a highlight to you that there are some cool things that may work with what we're doing or we're working on. But tonight I just couldn't help myself. So pretty much everything that's under the banner, I've taken at least a little bit off. I don't know. I'm not very disciplined. Can't help myself. I always switch over and think like a quilter rather than the quilt shop owner. I thought we had finished this. I thought it was gone. We said our goodbyes, and then I walked into the shop room next door and there's a whole new bolt. So I've pulled this one out to play with tonight, but I also just wanted to talk about it because I think, trying to watch on. Oh, Glenda, goodness me, you have got it bad up there. I wanted to bring out anything again that I thought might work really well as a sashing for the quilt, and pop them on special, some of them. All right, so when you get in there and have a look, you'll see what I've done. But when I saw this, I thought, you know what, I'm going to pull this out. I was actually really happy that I had another bolt. I wasn't like, oh no, because, you know, I love this green. It is such a rare, beautiful sage green. I love it. And my quilt has champagne. I'm not champagne fairy frost, and I know a lot of you have already grabbed that. But I just wanted you to entertain the possibilities of switching to a different colour. Just having a think about where you might put the quilt in your house, what other colours you've got, because yeah, it's all very safe to go with the champagne or the same as the one that I've done, but there are other alternatives that I know people have done along the way that might work really well. I'll grab a pin. Who said what where when? Leslie, hello. I've made this gorgeous quilt with Natasha. It's currently, oh, that is so fantastic. I'm glad you've done it. And you've started on, that's my next question, started on the Japanese Baltimore. Oh, what inspired me to choose the Mons? Oh, that's a big question, Leslie, because they came out of a book of 2000. I went for, I would say, some flowers that I knew were going to work well, first of all, with 3D applique techniques that I was sort of developing at the time. Leslie asked why I did these ones. And, you know, they've all probably got a little bit of a place in my heart. I mean, I grew up, even though it's a Japanese quilt, I grew up with grandparents with beautiful cherry blossom trees at the end of their street. My grandmother loved chrysanthemums. My mum can't stand them. Never give my mum chrysanthemums for Mother's Day. I love clematis. I'm a favourite of autumn. I would love to say that this is because of Emma, but I don't think I'd met Em when I first did this one because she's an iris lover. My grandmother also loved irises. Ginger flowers hold a huge place in my heart because when Rob and I were engaged, Rob had to go to work for America and we met halfway, how romantic, in Hawaii for a week and a bit. And it was the first time I'd seen ginger flowers. And again, my grandparents' garden had wisteria, and the aster block was purely chosen because of the techniques I could incorporate in, and I wanted a neutral coloured block for the middle, so we went with the bamboo. How's that? Not too bad? Not too bad? I'm pretty sure that's all right. If I think of anything else, I'll let you know as we go. Okay, so if I pop that down through there, I thought I stood on a pin, but I haven't. If I put that down through there, can you see that? She's going to change the whole look of the quilt. But I really think this green is an excellent choice because it is a blue green, so it will switch between these really quite tealy blues in the quilt. It'll pick up the leaf greens, it'll work with all of it. So if I put that down through, see what I mean? Really love it. And it's got that lovely soft, subtle colour. So that one's on and that one's on special. Now, this is really naughty, isn't it? I keep nicking bits off the... If you're the person that I ring and say, I'm really sorry our stock levels were out, you may have a go at me because you nicked it. Alright, so let's put this one up. Can you see that other one okay? You can. Let's put that one up there. This is glass, Fairy Frost. So this is March for Tonight and on Special too. So if I put that through there, again, a really clever green because it's yellow and green. So it blends really well through to these, through to the celadon. It blends with the chrysanthemum, celadon's in there, similar colours in here. This won't matter over here. So this, it'll all work and it'll make it really fresh and quite contemporary. Now obviously with this one, you wouldn't do the kanji design over the top. You would leave it out, but there's a few other options that you can do, and I would suggest maybe some little pre-shaped little circles, or you could take some of your little blossoms from different places if you wanted to and pop them over there, but it probably doesn't need it. In fact, you don't even need this. You could just do straight sashing if you had a patterned one like that. So you see what I mean? You can really customize it to what you want. The other one I've popped under the banner tonight is a perennial favourite here at the moment, which is Cream Brulee, because a lot of us in Quilters Life are doing our mud and butterfly quilts with this as our background. So some are, if you're not in there yet, some are doing black and some are on cream. So we've sort of got two, and some of us are nuffs and they're doing three at once. So you see that down through there? It's just a little bit richer and a little bit golder. When we get to the Japanese one, now Natasha, as those in the UK will know, including Leslie, has my Japanese Baltimore. So I really do have to make the blocks as we go. But with that one I use a really, really strong gold. In fact, I think it's Amber Fairy Frost, which is this. So on the one, on the other one, with the other ones, it's that. It's full on. So I don't think I'll be going back there. I'm going to have a think, but that's what's on the other one. So you can go stronger, but I actually think that's quite nice. And of course our fabric of the month, which is the pearlized, hard to see, our beautiful pearlized pearlescence. This or any of the pearlescence ones is going to look lovely because it's got that little bit of subtle pattern through it. It's frosted like the Fairy Frost. This is more in line with natural Fairy Frost, so it's lighter, but I'll pop a bit up for you. But it's also light enough that you could come through and do the kanji over the top. I'm getting more crooked as I go on. Oh, thanks Sylvia. Appreciate it. So if I pop that next to that, you can see this is a lot lighter again. But you know, depending on the wall that you might be hanging it on, you might need to go lighter. It depends on where it's going to hang. Champagne generally, champagne usually works with everything. There's a line. In 90% of the time, champagne is fine. But you just have to watch it when you start using, and I'm saying this for those that are using their own stashes, I suppose, when you use fresher, brighter colours, and you tend to go into those sort of more really, really fresh aqua colours and pinks and things. This is probably a good example. This is what one of the Madame Butterfly combos is that we did. So this quilt here, this is one of the fabrics that some of the girls are working in, okay? So with these colours, because I've got the grey and the white coming through, champagne can look quite dirty next to it. So with this particular quilt, the girls are working with natural fairy frost, where they need the fairy frost in their quilts as opposed to the champagne, because it can look a little bit dirty. You know that 90% of the time it's fine. So just keep that in mind. If you are really matching up colours, and I would recommend probably investing in 1.5 meters to do this. 2 meters if it's on special, so you've got enough to bind. Take your binding over to the back as well in the same colour. If you're really worried about it, just email me at info@chandlerscottage. I'm more than happy to stick a couple of swatches like these in the mail for you, so you can be absolutely sure. We'll rain check the special for you, but I want you to be really sure that you're getting the one, because you put so much work into the quilt that I want you to be really happy. There's a couple of others that are up tonight as well. Small floral in Melba, which we've talked about before, so the ivory cream with the little gold flower over the top, and also ivory flowering gum, perfect as well, because they are lovely soft creams, and the gold will pick up any little splashes of fairy frost or anything that you've got through your quilt, so they will work also, particularly, you know, I'm looking at this one and it's not what's in your kits, where you've got Northcote shimmer, you know, with the little dots and things through it. So if you do want a couple of samples, please don't hesitate to ask me. I will be more than happy to pop them in the post for you. All right. Excellent, Fiona. It'll all be good. I look forward to seeing it finished at the soiree. Oh, she's going to get me for that. I'm in so much trouble. All right. So, the thing about this quilt, I'm going to take these down now. I'm laughing with fear. It's not funny. I'm laughing with fear. She's going to get me. Okay. So, the main challenge, and we're going to talk about this in traditional piecing as per the pattern first, is all of our little angled corners. So, I want to just walk through some of that with you so that everyone is, I don't know, not happy with the technique, but happy with why I've written up the pattern the way I have. That's probably more to the point. Okay, so you've got lots of different shapes going on. You've got this full one here, which has got little cut off corners. This is what's used for those sashing corners. And then you've also got these ones, because on the quilt you've also got the half, I don't know what you call it, half chopped off square triangle things at the top. And then you've got little ones over here on, you can't see that one, can you? You've got these ones down here too. And these are all, they're like a setting corner, but don't be put off by the term. Once you understand, you know, it's the principle of how to do it. And once you've got it, you'll be fine. I can hear a train. The wind must be blowing this way. All right, so let's just look at this. Now, the pattern actually states that it would like you to cut some 7-inch squares first. So I'm just going to go back and steal a bit off this, I think. It's really naughty, isn't it? It's just so naughty. Just stealing off a perfectly good bolt. You know, I'm not. I'm going to take it off this one down here, because I did a deal, another deal on this. I didn't know there was any left. This is the official AU Blue Black Batik. That is for the Be Mindful quilt, which you've either got it in the mail or it's on A Quilter's Life. And if you're on A Quilter's Life, I'm going to put an email up for you and come back in a couple of weeks, and we'll go through construction again so that you are all happy. But this is on special, so if you got the blue black, this is it if you need some for the back of your quilt or you want some extra for something. But I think this is like $14 a metre or something. Ridiculously good tonight. Okay, so this is not what I intended to do, so that's okay. I'm just going to chop a bit off here. You'll never miss it. You won't. You'll never notice that it's gone from the bolt. And then just take this bit down here. And a ruler would be good. Hey Robbie, if you're watching, can you... Oh no, it's alright, I got it. Put this here. We are going to have to open up another one of these rulers because Stephen and I, we don't fight, but it's a little bit like the tape gun. Where's the tape gun? Who's got the tape gun? Who's got it? And then we do the same with the good ruler. So I think, seeing we love them so much, we really should just take one out of stock. Oh, that's right, Fee, you're not even here. Good evening, Angela. That's right. Sue's like, I don't know what colour to get now. That's what we're here for, Sue, is to completely confuse you. Be Mindful quilt, Jenny Wren. 3.2 for the front we did. I would go 3.5 or generously 4 at that price for the back, because then you're going to have enough to do it quilt as you go if you wish. So we'll be back doing that really soon. So if you want to do it quilt as you go, you'll need more for your sashing and maybe your binding on the edge. So at that price I just grab 4 and run with it, because it's just super cheap, kind of half price nearly. Alright, so with this one you need to be on point, which my friends doing the Be Mindful quilt know very well the perils of always remembering to pop your block on point first, because when you have a look up here, see they go that way, so you've got to make sure they are. So once you have done, because we're not going to sit here for 5 hours, okay, and do the embroidery, that's not happening. So once you finish that, you're going to have a template from this. I could put it onto template plastic, but as this is a one-off wonder to show you tonight, I'm going to cut it out of paper. And the templates do not include seam allowance, and that is because I have purposely asked you to draw on your seam allowance in addition to this. And I do this to you a lot with bags, with fussy cut templates, the whole lot, because my intention is I really, really want you to have the seam line drawn on. Got to have the seam line so that we can pivot at the corners. See, I just put these on tonight because I wanted you to remember to always have your good chalk pens in the stash, and then I put them on special because I couldn't help myself. So if you wanted to grab a spare one, I would grab one tonight while they're on special. Okay, so we need to do the embroidery in the middle as per the pattern, and then I'm just marking my corners because I haven't cut out a whole template, and then we need to actually draw on the finished shape. Always, if you're tracing any design out, if you're doing any tracing, just always remember that if it's got straight lines, to get that accuracy, just draw the dots at each end and then come back and mark them up with a ruler. It's always going to get a much more accurate finish. Okay, so that's done, and then the pattern tells you to come out and add a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now I'm doing this with my chalk pen because you're watching. If you weren't watching, I would do this. And also, because I've not just spent a few hours in the sunshine with friends at a retreat or in front of Netflix doing the embroidery. So it's going to be whatever you're comfortable with. So instead of drawing it on and then cutting it out, I'm just holding the ruler over the top and making sure that I'm in a 1/4 inch over my drawn pink line. Or no pink line, depending on which side I was on. Oh, went to half. Okay, so that's it with all its lines drawn up. And that would be, do you want me to just draw it on for fun? I don't even know if I can. Will we just do this? We'll draw it on. Okay. Funny thing happened at LA airport. Was it the first time I went? No. It wouldn't have been the first time because the quilt was hanging. Probably the second or third time I went to Houston. I went through LA to see my fabric team, my fabric agent in LA. All right, also to shop at Manhattan Beach Shopping Center. Okay. So the first time I went through, second, third time I went, I got pulled up in customs in clearance for a bag check, and they pull people off to the side and they put their bags through another x-ray, and then they pull, you know the story, and then they pull you over, and they, luckily no cameras, they opened up my bag, they pulled out my quilt. It would have been this one. It would have been this one. It was the first one. And, you know, airports are not a clean place, and the quilt was very recently finished. And he started getting his fingers and touching everything, and I lost it. And I said, if you're going to touch my quilt, please put some gloves on. Like, have a bit of respect. There are cotton gloves in there if you wish to touch the quilt. And he did. He took the cotton gloves off and put them on. And he said, I'm just checking. And he was literally checking the 3D petals to see if I'd put any nice little fine white powder inside. That's what he said. And then I said, are you done? After 27 hours flying, you've got very little tolerance. And he said, I have one problem. And he had a problem with the angle of the stroke. Of course, he was American Japanese. He had a problem that I didn't quite have the angle right on spring, summer, autumn. And I said, you can put it back in the case now, thanks. So I'm always a bit conscious when I draw them up. It was a bit of a bet, wasn't it? Draw them up. All right, so that's that one. Now what we want to be able to do is link it in with sashing and with the other blocks. So if you have a look back up here, we've got straight down through here, there's sashing, and that's actually going to join these together first, and then you're going to inset these in. And so you've got to get all these little angles happening together, and they've all got to sit really nice and flat. We did this last week on something, didn't we? I'm sure we did something. Sashing, sashing, sashing. 1.5 inches wide. Okay, so let's just chop a bit. I know you're going to want a different fabric. Where's this bit? It was like one of those welcome to America stuffs. We're going to pull your quilt apart and look for stuff, and then we're going to pick on how you'd actually done the kanji on it. It's very funny now when I think about it, but it's not funny after 27 hours. Needless to say, after that, we very quickly learnt to go through Dallas. instead. All right, I'm going to cut a short bit just so we've got a couple of bits to play with here. And these are quite small. These are only 1.5 inches wide. Did you all see on Facebook today, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to run around and look for it because I honestly don't know where I've put it tonight. Did you see on this page and also on the Needleworker Soiree page, I did sit and finish off the other project for the soiree. Sorry, Fiona. I did finish it off, so it's up there for you to have a look at. And it was lovely. It was actually really enjoyable to do. It was very tactile because we've got beautiful wool shadow play flannel, the Benetix flannel on the back, and then we've got Suspargo hand-dyed merino wool and the beautiful thread. So it all had all this beautiful chunky texture, but it behaved impeccably well when I was edging all of the little leaves on it. So please have a look, and you'll see what we've got for the soiree. And now I'm on to food. So there obviously has to be something with pumpkin, and there definitely needs to be something with maple syrup, so we shall see. So can you see that's actually going to go on there? How scary is that? So on this side, I'm again going to mark in my 1/4 inch, but I'm also going to mark the sides. I just need each end of my sashing strip done, so I've got that intersection ready. And once you've got this whole method going, you'll realize it doesn't matter which bit you actually add in what order, as long as you follow the golden rule of putting these together. So we'll pop those aside for a minute. Now the big blocks, they're big blocks. Where's it? Oh, panic attack. This here makes up your big block. So because it is quite large, what we did was draft it up, Cass and I. So you've got AB, AB, so they overlap to there, like that. And then you've got BC, BC, and you'll bring these in and overlap. If you are downloading off a Quilter's Life, please, 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 if you're ever going to make sure you're printing to scale, because you don't want your blocks coming out too small or too big. If you fit to page, it could go either way depending on your printer, so please make sure you're printing 100% to scale. No sticky tape. Hang on, 2 ticks. Oh, sorry. Again, AQL, Quilter's Life people. When you download the instructions for doing your moon, please stop and watch the video first. I found a really, really cool thing to do today instead of the method that's actually in the pattern. And that's why the Roxanne glue is on special tonight. So you watch it and then you'll see why. And the specials are up, Steve said, until Sunday. I had nothing to do with it. Oh, sorry, let's go up here. So this looks really big when you hold it up, but it's actually the right size. Isn't that weird? It looks really big, but they are big, beautiful blocks. Now, right, so you can buy the pattern, okay, as it is. This actual, as a printout copy, if you join a Quilter's Life, for $10 you can print out the assembly instructions. And I know you might go, why do I want them without the whole shebang? Well, they're all there, but I think just the quilt design with the block shapes, with the assembly, might be something worth having anyway if you've got some really lovely, big, beautiful Oriental prints that you just want to set off in something. This shape also works really lovely just for traditional Baltimore wreath, traditional patterns, or Christmas wreath. You might have bought, you know, a beautiful panel that's got these in. So I think keep all that in mind, because it might just be a really nice quilt layout and assembly technique to use for anything. If I had Christmas wreaths in a panel and they were a bit smaller than this, all you would need to do is just shrink down the size of the block, and you're going to be shrinking this sashing down, but everything else can stay the same in terms of the assembly technique. And these little bits you can have your little holly and berries on. So even just think about it as a quilt block design. You might have a whole heap of sashiko panels that you need to set off in something. But I think might be worth just, and if you're printing it off for this after you've used it for the Baltimore, it might be worth just keeping it around for a while. You might be able to use it for something else. At the soiree, says Fiona, I need to behave and actually stitch my little heart out. So Lisa, if you could keep the coffee coming, you bugger. Keep the coffee coming, I'd appreciate it. You're so funny. The coffee will be good. The food will be good. The music will be good. All of it. I'm in charge of the center stage display. Okay, I begged if I could be the one that did it. You know what I'm like. So once you've got this all drawn up, place on fold. So this is half the block to here. So you will place it on the fold, and actually I want you to do a whole one, please. Even if it means grabbing a couple more sheets of template plastic, please do a complete one. So because this is, you know, your work is so precious at this stage, I want to see a whole one done and centered over. Same as the small ones, you're going to draw it on, and then you're going to add your 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then you're going to cut it out. If you, I'm quite serious tonight because you can't see it and I've got it all covered up. I've got chronic sinus infection in here, and the pain level's making me a little bit not, how are you doing, casual. But I don't need any sympathy. I've just wanted to let you know that's why I'm so serious, because there's this going on in here. It'll all be better tomorrow. The drugs are kicking in. But I really, really want you to be super careful because you put so much work in. And if ever you are going to put a new blade in your rotary cutter, and because you're using your rotary cutter, this is the time to do it, because you don't want any slipping and sliding because you're working with a blunt blade. So I rang our supplier today. I made sure they had ample stock, and then I whacked the blades on special and put them on the website. So I'm going down to pick some up tomorrow, but it's open slather if you want to grab a couple of blades and stash them while they're on special. So I want you to do that for me. Please, please make sure that you take the care to do a whole template. I just want it to be absolutely perfect for you. I'm emotionally invested. Now, because we don't need to do a whole block tonight just to do this demo, I'm going to literally cut just about 1/4 of the block, because that's all I need to demo to you doing this setting corner. Machine's on. So we'll chop this. There's a quilt, and some of you may have it in your stash. There's a quilt called, I think now. I think it's Imperial Windows, don't quote me, but it's a quilt that I did a long time ago, and it was inspired by some beautiful, really fine, almost toile-like scenes by Robert Kaufman with little geishas, and it's actually landscape long lozenge octagons, and they're set in with other squares, and this is where it really came to fruition about doing these open seams and making sure that you get them right. Oh, like we've been doing, of course, with Sunburnt Country. So I've got that to play with. So we'll grab some fabric again, she says. Where did I put the... No. Where did I do... Oh, here it is. Look at that mess. Oh, I grabbed out... So tonight as well, I grabbed out these because then I felt guilty about doing the panic buy and warning everyone that I'm going to cut off the Baltimore and cut off Madame Butterfly. So I thought, if it was me and I really wanted to do it, but I didn't know what to buy in terms of greens or anything, what would I do? And I don't want to buy the ½ metre pieces, and what do I need? All that sort of stuff if you haven't grabbed the kits as we've gone. I thought one of the best things that I could recommend is that you grab one of the Applique Essential Packs, because then you've got 10 beautiful different greens that you can use throughout the quilt. And if I seriously have a look, I reckon you could wing every single block. You could get every single block out of a 10 centimetre strip. We've got some bits that are cut on the bias, but there are always the alternative method of actually cutting it to size when you have a look through the demos, rather than just a bias strip. So one of these would get you a long way towards what you needed, because it's always the greens, isn't it, that you never have enough greens. So I had a look through and then I panicked a bit. There's only two, well, not panicked, but there are 3 of the dark greens left. So it's a case of just sort of picking what sort of greens you want to work with. There's those, and then the light greens. Can you see that okay? If I hold that up, that's that would also be really, really good to use, because it's got sort of bluey, sagey greens, a little bit of gold, everything. And so that one's really good. And the other one that would be good is the one that we did, that's the Friends of Periwinkle one. You know, in that newsletter that I've never written to. Anyway, it'll get done. But this one's also really good, because I was saying to Eve at Newton today, she goes, I don't know when you're going to find the time. I said, well, I haven't found the time to do a newsletter. It's not that simple, but this one's also really good. So this was Friends of Periwinkle, because it's got the lovely blue tealy greens that you could use over here, and then it's got lovely fresh apple greens. So again, I popped them a little bit on special tonight. Oh yeah, and then I told you that, didn't I? Yes, so all the Sew Line single pens are on special, and the Roxanne glue's got a little bit off it. Oh, and even the modern 21st century cleavage pin for my jacket, which are Prims, brought to you by Prims safety pins if you're about to start quilting your quilt. So I just need this bit. Did you see the way I snuck a new pink one when no one was looking tonight? Did you see that? Yeah, I did. Because I've got a green, and I've got the really cool, I really, really like the limited edition aqua blue, of course, tealy blue, love that. But I couldn't find a pink one, so I went, I'll just steal one live on Facebook. No one will know. Okay, so that's that line drawn in that we talked about. That's the actual seam line, and then I'm going to chop this over here. One thing about blades, and I know that Emma and I have talked about it with you before, it's like your power steering starting to go in your car. And I say that because Hank needed something fixed this week, my Honda. It happens slowly over time, so you don't actually realise that you're putting more effort into steering, and you're having to push harder and push harder with your cutter, and you will start to do damage to your wrist and your shoulder, like us girls do it all the time if we own a shop. So it's just something you need to keep an eye on, that you don't leave it too long. And I watched Steve the other day, because we use the big 60mm cutters as well for going through labels, and I could hear the cutter going through about 5 layers of fabric from the other end of the house. And so I kind of just casually walked out and just took out a new blade and went, change it. And he just hadn't realised how how blunt it had become, because it had happened gradually. So you've just got to keep it in mind, because I don't want you to slip. Alright, so with this, we can now have a little bit of a play at setting in this seam, because that has to go up that way, and then this has to go in here. So I've kind of messed with you colour-wise tonight, because in the real world this and this are going to be the same colour, but this will do for the demo. So I've just realised that. So at this point, because we're leaving our seam allowances open, we could sew any of them together first. In the pattern, it actually suggests that you sew all of your blocks in 3 rows of 3 first. So I will be a good girl. I'll do this one first. So we're going to pick these 2 up, and we are going to line these up here. I'll put my glasses on. Thanks, Jen. Gotta love the salvos at Pakenham. That's it. And I'm so bad. I know. I almost need to tell you now when I'm not wearing an op-shop top. I'm actually running low on a few, because I took a heat back after I'd worn them a couple of times. So we're going to pin right into those 2 corner marks. So I've got one on that side and one on this side, so we'll pop our pin in there. So you see, that's why it's really great to draw on the seam line first and then chop your 1/4 inch additional afterwards, because then you've got all of that line drawn on and it's really easy to see. Now with this one, now we're on the straight, so there's really not a reason for me to draw the whole seam allowance up on the sashing, because it's a straight line, straight edge, and I've got it drawn on this other side that's the block. So we'll just pop another one up in here. Okay, so we're going to sew that on to there. So let's we'll head over to the sewing machine, which is all fired up, ready to go. So we'll just quickly do this, get this on, make sure we're all happy with it, and then we'll just have a quick chat as well about options for quilt as you go. Now we really help if the sewing machine was threaded. I am not going to proclaim to be a quilt as you go expert. However, I will proclaim that Monica Paul is one. So if you really want to have a good look through some great demos from Monica on Quilt As You Go, she has got a truckload on her YouTube channel. You know, and I'm not, it's not something I've done a lot of, but Monica does a lot of them. She has PDF pattern downloads, the whole bit. And if you really want to get into it, I would suggest that you watch some of her videos. So I'm going to stop right at that point, and if I didn't think I could stop right on that dot, remember we did the other day, we just quickly turned back the length of our stitch so that when we took the next stitch forward we could stop there. Right, so that's that bit on. And then we've got this bit to pop in. So this is going in that wedge in there. Now, in all of my excitement, I drew, I've got to think now, my drawn line is on the right side for my seam allowance, and look, that's all fine because I can still pop my needle in and have a look through, get it in the middle of that corner, and then somewhere down in here I can find the end of that row that I have sewn, and I've got my needle coming out there, so that's going to be where we stop. So when I fold that back, that's going to go there. So up the other end, same thing. And something that I shouldn't say but I will look. If you find that your blocks are just a smidge out in terms of matching up the length of these seams, you know what I'm going to say, don't you? They are both cut on the bias, so you will have a little bit of room to move, and I know I shouldn't say that, but it is true. So that's going to go through to there, and I can follow this line on this stage, on this side. There is going to be a little bit of give for you if you need it. And to avoid them needing to avoid it, I'm pretty sure it's in the pattern. Once you have cut those blocks to size, do not, please do not iron them again. You can iron them and starch them all you like prior to cutting them down, but once they are cut down, that's it. No more, because of the corners that have been cut on the bias. We don't want to push it out of shape. I've got one more. And then remember, check your machine, because sometimes, or nearly always, it needs to move the feed dogs forward to do a locking stitch or a cut. So it's always good to stop one stitch before, and if you don't stop one before, then just do a little reverse stitch first. Whoops. Okay, so now we've got this one here. I can turn it right around the other way. So that's on there, lovely. Now there'd be another block over here, but the most important and impressive thing is how you're going to stitch this on. And because we've left all our seams open, you can now turn it over to this side and really easily pick up this little seam to sew across here. Robbie, if you're listening, on my, I don't know where, down the hallway there's a pile of quilts with Auntie Franny's crocheted blanket, and amongst them is my big kind of twirly Imperial Windows quilt. If you could grab it, if not, if he doesn't hear me, I'll do a runner. I do want to show it to you. So we'll head over to the machine and pop this little seam across. It's orangey goldy, Rob. That's a technical term. You will want a little finishing stitch or reverse at each of these points, because you don't want it to unravel. Yeah, that one. Thanks. I would have remade this quilt that Rob's brought in for me, over and over, but I haven't seen the fabric come through yet to do it. We might be in luck. Oh, now my phone's going flat. Later in the year, there might be something that comes through. So, okay, so you see that? Look at that. You're in. And so now you can bring the other one down. As I said, in the actual pattern, no. Do you like, how many no's was that? We're going to hold it up. In the pattern, it tells you to put your 3 blocks together and then fit this one in between with its little sashing pieces, because you'll have them go this way as well. But as I've just shown you, it will not matter which order you put things together in, as long as you leave this open. It's going to be up to you which way you fold it. If you've got dark sashing going onto a light background, then you're going to want to fold it over that way so you don't get that shadow through. But I would suspect with most of us, we'll be able to push all of our seams towards the block, the main applique blocks. But you can see this is all just going to fold beautifully down, and you are going to get a lovely flat quilt. In this one, there's a couple of seams that have lifted a couple of times, and I've had to stitch them down again, and it's because I didn't do a really good securing stitch or a reverse at these points. So please take the time to do that so that you know they're going to sit down nice and flat. If this scares you, if it really does, your other alternative, I'm going to throw one at you, is just go through and traditionally leave your blocks square. Is it too late to talk about this sort of thing? Maybe, I don't know. But just leave your blocks square. Don't just throw out that template, cut them to a size you're happy with, super square, and then just sash them straight. Straight across, big straight across. Then you can go back with these and you can do all of this. Use those really good Clover hot rulers that we've got. Fold under the seam allowance and slip stitch this over the top. Nothing that says you can't. If you're worried about the background showing through, wax and weft underneath so it doesn't show. But if that irks you out, then you can do it that way. When we get to the Japanese Baltimore, we actually do it differently. Instead of having these shapes, we do it all as straight sashing first, and we pre-shape our circles like we do as the first step of a Suffolk puff over sandpaper with a symbol on it, and they go on over the top. So you've got a couple of different options available to you, and you know, if you haven't got all your blocks done yet, by the time you get them done, we'll be up to looking at that with the Oriental Baltimore anyway. If you are in a quilter's life and you're doing all of this sort of thing as well, you have got a lot of skills here that you can take over into this quilt. Another example would be, if you don't want to do the kanji that's in here, grab your little octagons, use all your leftover scraps, and you'll be able to set 9 of these. Oh, 9 of these. I didn't want to go that way because Rob's there. 9 of these on point in here. So you can actually put these in here instead. And there's lots of things off this quilt that you can put in. You can put little butterflies in, dragonflies, anything you like. So just keep all of that in mind. You might like to put this in, skip the kanji, and just, as I said, do some little flowers in here. So lots and lots of things you can do. Now, this quilt that Rob's very patiently standing here holding is where we really got in tune with this technique. I love this quilt. Is this the one? No, I think Cheryl Prater quilted this one. There's another one of these, or maybe it's with Flick. Flick came to you? I can't remember. That Heather Purcell quilted for me in the States. Can you see? Oh, look at that. I love this quilt. See what I mean about the pattern? It's like a really detailed... I'm waiting for Rob to say any minute now. Just design one. I can design that. It's amazing. This pattern here, directional, really detailed. So if you've got... That's what's bugging you. If you've got a toile in your stash, hold on to it, because we'll come back and do this as soon as I find the fabric. Because it's directional, we've got octagons horizontal, and we've got octagons in the same fabric vertical, so you get the overall effect of all of the fabric, and then we get these squares in between. So we do big squares with piecing in them, which is still really simple to do, and then little squares with frames around as well. But it's the same deal as what we've just talked about. It's all about setting seams. I like that quilt. I want to leave it out now. Wow, look what's on the back. Oh, them's for the days. What's wrong?
Just give me the rod and I can put it across.
No. Don't hide the geisha. Thanks.
7 seconds doing the heading.
Rob's listening to me while working, and he's got a 7-second delay. Rob, would I be right that you're working on an advent calendar? Oh, are you or not? Did you get sidetracked?
Soiree?
No, Advent. Those bits of cardboard?
Yeah.
Advent.
Oh, I need 500.
You need 500.
Oh, you've got 125.
No, because you've got to times it by 4. Never mind. Later. Yes, it's a bit adventy out there. It's a bit, just every now and then I go, okay, I've decided what December the 4th or the 13th or the 16th is going to be, and we do it. But it's starting to freak everyone out because I'm not doing them in order. I'm sort of, it's a jigsaw puzzle. No, they're not to know what we're doing.
Well, they can't tell.
No, they will. They'll know what that is. Walk away. It's a big surprise. Do not show anybody. They only get to see the first. again at some stage. All right. Now, as I mentioned, Monica is the legend. Well, our Aussie legend on foundation on Quilt As You Go. So there are a few little. Oh yeah. But I'll show you sort of in a nutshell the simplest way I can explain how you could convert this into doing it Quilt As You Go. And as I said, I've got a couple of examples here. This is done that way, and also the Be Mindful quilt. So, yes, the alternative to, oh no, I've lost it now, there it is. The alternative also to marking or worrying about getting that 1/4 inch, and also if you are using a fabric that has a lot more give in it. So we've been working on batiks and black magic that are really, really lovely tight weave. But if you find that you're using a fabric that will give a fair bit when you've got bits that are cut on an angle, don't forget your quilter's tape, because the quilter's tape is going to give you your 1/4 inch seam as well as stabilize the side. And I know we've talked about this very recently as well. So when I stick that down on a straight edge, okay, a straight cut edge, not a wrinkly one this late at night with a crease in it, it's going to stabilize the edge. It's not going to stretch, but also that's a 1/4 inch wide, so you can actually sew straight down the side of that and not worry about anything distorting. So I know a lot of you have already stashed it, but he's up tonight with a little bit of a special on him as well if you want to get some more or get that into your stash. I just seem to use this more and more, and I'm sure that's not what the original purpose. I think it's to get your lines off in order when you're hand quilting. I don't know, but we use it for lots of different things. Also, if you decide you are going to embark on this or the next Baltimore through a Quilter's Life or with us on here and buy the bits each month, you're going to need transfer paper to make your life easy if you're going onto a dark background. We've got 6 of those at the moment. You remember we were out of stock for ages, and I got a truckload in, so I've got 6 at the moment. There were 7. I stashed one because I never actually got the full pack. I don't know what happened. I ended up with a couple, and I think Em grabbed a couple, and we never ended up with a full one, so I grabbed one for myself. So now there are also those doing Madame Butterfly are about to die, because I'm going to use these two to talk about Quilt As You Go. So this is the money purse from Madame Butterfly, and do we have one on this quilt? I always get confused because we've got 2 different versions. Oh yes, there's one down the bottom of the current Madame Butterfly on the wall, sorry, but in the new version that we're doing, it goes up here, up in the corner. So I'm going to have a look. You may have seen, if you're not in the club, you haven't seen these. So that's what they're all up to. I mean, look at that. It's pretty cool, isn't it? So we do little bits of pre-shaped inserts, and then we gather it in so the purse looks like it's gathered, and we do little skinny mini stems. So we started out with more simpler shapes, and we're building up our skills as we go. So this one's been quilted. This is for a black version I'm doing with the traditional shibori pattern for the main print, and this is the one that goes with the Madame Butterfly fabric on the cream background. And this one's all stitched down. This one we went the whole 3D. There's that beautiful green fabric, and so it actually sits up. So these 2 are going to be what I use, just to give you a quick idea. When you do Quilt As You Go, you can have, well, in terms of sashing, you've got choices. So you can decide to put the piece of sashing, the way I do it, the piece of sashing that's joining the 2 blocks together can go on the front or it can go on the back. So with this one up here, we actually joined them together on the front with a really narrow piece. So this was only 1 inch wide. So when you think about it, this is 1/2 inch now. You've got 1 inch wide, you're going to take up 1/4 inch on one side of the strip and 1/4 inch on the other, and you're left with the 1/2 in the middle. And when you turn that seam in, both those 2 1/4 inch seams butt up against each other. I'll show you in a tick. And they sit firmly behind this. And then on the back, we've gone through and actually slip stitched another piece of sashing over the back to hide that seam. Same here with, and I'm sure when you get to Monica, it'll be like, oh, Lisa, you're so not sophisticated, but she does like whole quilts, quilt as you go. Now on here, and this is where we're at with Be Mindful, on this one, oh, Carol Newton, if you're watching, we had a bit of a chat about this. Oh, you're so funny. Oh, funny, funny, funny. Yeah, oh, Sue, I'm glad you like the transfer paper. I do love it. It's better than the stuff I got years ago that was from American Craft Place. I love it. I will get some more in, but it must be so popular. It's really hard to get hold of, and then you've got to have your order in heaps ahead. So what's happened this time when we're doing we had a play with it with the Be Mindful quilt. Now Michelle's has not actually done Quilt as You Go, but the girls and I are doing ours this way. Well, some of us are anyway. Again, a 1 inch piece, so that was a 1 inch strip, and you can see just that's it there. And then the 2 1/4 inch seam allowances are taken up on the back, and when the seams come in, you can see they butt up against each other. But what we also did, while we sewed on one of these seams on this side, we also put in another piece, which was, because Carol Newton and I were talking about this, so this one was 1.5 because I wanted it doubled over so that see how it's a pleated piece? It's actually folded in half. So when that got sewn on at the same time as that seam, it's actually now sitting there, and I can bring it over and slip stitch it down. But the Newton and I were having a chat, and I think it should actually be wider. So I would go to 1 3/4. I mean, I know this doesn't help with the Baltimore, but well, you could if you wanted to just do a narrow seam instead of all of the stuff that we're doing. If you chose a really vibrant color, like that really strong gold, it would actually make sense to do a narrower sashing between the blocks. Just do that straight bit I was talking about, straight sashing, and then have a small little pre-shaped square or block or circle over the top, so it's just not too much, but you're going to get the contrast, the impact you want by having with a narrower one if it's a really bright color. So you can see we've brought this over, and we were chatting, we think it needs to be a little bit bigger, just a bit, maybe another 1/4 inch, and it would just be easier to pull it over, just to make it a little bit easier on our hands. So I will do that. It's probably why I've stopped right there, because I'm thinking about whether I want to go back and unpick these ones and put another one on. So see that needle there, Fiona? That is for you, mate, so you can finish that off for me right down through. I'm joking. Down through there. But you can see with this, seriously, because this quilt gets to put together on the diagonal because it's on point, but you can see there's like, now we've got minimal contrast here, but if you had that in a really bright colour, it'd be good. Let's not talk about Stephen's 21st present from his birthday on the 3rd of January. It's happening slowly. So back to the quilt on the wall, we have a much wider sashing on the front. So to me, it would make sense to do, I'm just going to chop. Please don't have a panic attack if you're doing this. I've got plenty of room. I'm just going to trim it down, that bit off there. And this side off here. Like that. Okay. There we go. So if we do this same thing now, we join them together at the back with that 1 inch, and we bring the seams to the front, they're going to abut together here. And so if we do that with the quilt on the wall, here's what you need to do. So you might, I don't know, and watch again later, write it down, I don't mind. This seam here across the front is 1 inch. So you've got a choice to make. If you want the blocks to stay this size, you will need to make these seams in here 1/2 inch, not 1/4 inch. Because if you want that effect of them butting up against each other, and you're going to have this over the top, you might, because this is going to cover up, remember, a fair bit. And you haven't got these little seam allowances happening, so you might actually want to leave an extra 1/4 inch around all of your blocks. So you end up with the same size once you've slip stitched a sashing over the top. You get it? Hope so. So it's up to you. I wouldn't worry me if I came through and did all of that piecing and then I had a little bit less here, but it's going to be up to you. But if you've done this method of putting them together at the back with that narrow piece of fabric, and you come to the front, you're actually going to be slip stitching this onto the front sashing. Now my first applique, Chandler's got his applique sampler, I actually did that. And I can't say I'm that thrilled with it, only because it was a multiple piece sashing. But with this it's fine, and the trick to doing it, and I mentioned it to the girls doing the applique sampler, I would pop some weft behind it, give it a little bit more guts, so that when you actually fold over the seam allowances before you slip stitch them on, that you get a really nice firm finish. And the other reason that you need that is because inside here you've got these 2 little seams that are moving around, and I don't want you to get any inkling of seeing them sitting next to each other underneath that sashing. Okay, the other way to do it too is to actually do this as you're put this on first. So then you would definitely need to have a 1/2 inch seam allowance around your finished template, not a 1/4, so that 2 half seams come in and meet in here with this. And then on the back, this one's not done like that, and then at the back you'd be able to cover up the seam with sashing. So there are ways of doing it, and I encourage you to have a look if you don't want to actually do the whole quilt together first. I loved having my quilt together first, and I didn't find it too hard to manage in my machine because I was doing it free motion quilting. So each of these blocks has been free motion quilted, like I did my applique sampler, and I've got little bits of quilting over the top of this as well to hold it all in place. Because it was free motion, I wasn't turning the quilt or anything, and so it just didn't worry me having it all together first. But if you really love the idea of having each block completely done first, then you might want to have a little think about your options and do a little bit more research on it. So I just go back to this. You can join these together with a 1 inch strip, and then the seams will butt together either on the front, sew it onto the front and they will abut at the back, or sew it onto the back and they will abut at the front. And if you decide to do it this way, then you'll come back through with sashing and your pre-pieced corner squares. So this would be ironed over, and you will actually slip stitch that on over the top on the front. And it won't be too hard to manage, honestly it won't. Just make sure that you get this really nice and firm, and then also you'll want to pin and maybe even adhere down so that you know it's going to sit nice and straight. And that, look, you can see that's going to look really nice between those 2 blocks. If only I could leave them together, but I can't. They're going to go in completely separate quilts. So there you go. Alright, so I hope, I know it's not a big night, is it? But I really hope that you have a think about doing the quilt. If you haven't started yet, at least hop on, join the club and get down, pull down, download, print out what you need if you want to come back and do it another time. For those that have been with me on the whole journey, I thank you so much, and I hope you've really got a lot out of it. And then to the diehards that are doing this and this at the same time, I'm hoping that what we learnt here when we started this one off has really helped you on your journey with this one. I know it's going to sound really funny, but I used to teach this in shops as a beginner's quilt because we do build up skill level as we go. So again, if you haven't done a lot of applique, you might even want to just hop on and have a run through. The new ones that we're doing are sort of a quantum leap ahead of this one again, but there's a lot of reverse applique and pre-shaping, and there's heaps of stuff going on that are just really, really good fun techniques. And even though I have made 2 of this one before as well, I'm loving doing the next 3 that I'm actually trying to do simultaneously at the moment. Do you know what I did? I put the shadow play on special, didn't I? And did I put on special the ones that are with the backgrounds for the black ones of this? And I haven't got any in my stash. So there's the good karma there, isn't there? I actually have to order more shadow play in JJX and J5, I think, because I haven't got enough left to finish my quilts. So that's my problem, and that's all my fault. So anyway, I hope you have a lot of fun with this. Take on board the technique, and that technique can be used for any shape that's got angles on it, whether you're doing setting in pentagons, hexagons, octagons, anything like that, because these are essentially octagons. And I hope you get a bit out of it and that you enjoy the quilts as well. So from here, when it comes to Baltimore's, we will in a couple of weeks come back and start the Japanese one. Next week we'll be back to bags again. Next week I've got a couple of new ones that I want to show you, so we'll be doing that next week. And I have had word officially not long ago that Midnight at Melba, the quilt, is complete with sleeve and everything. So in the next week or 2, Emma and I will be together, and we will finish off all of the instructions and do a little bit of a test run on the blocks and make sure it's all good to go. And then I'm hoping to con her into a cameo performance so that she'll come in and give me a hand. I'm also trying to get Margaret down here, and we'll do a show together leading up to the soiree, because she's got some beautiful new things going on at the moment and a lovely collaborative quilt that I was telling you about. So lots to come. All right, everybody, it's time to put on the kettle for a cuppa. Put the cat, bring the cat in, put the dog out. How does it go? I can't remember. Something like that. Really need to watch you how you thread. Fiona, do you want me to thread the needle now? Are you still awake? Do you want me to do it with the automatic needle threader? Come on, let's do it. It's too early to go to bed. Let's do it. I will grab the stool again. So if you, come on, we'll do it. Okay, let's do it. You allayed some of my fears. Not all of them yet, Pam. Okay, come on, let's, what?
Even I can do it.
Go away. Did you hear that?
I
Even I could do it. You putting the girls to bed? They're all confused because I've got the blind up and the bright lights on. Come on, let's go. Let's do this. So, the perils of a needle threader on a Benina or on any machine, I'm quite sure. We'll pull this out. Firstly, you need to know it's pretty easy to break one. I can say that now, I'm not a dealer. It is pretty easy to muck one up. And the reason that you're going to muck up a needle threader, those, I can just see half of them are going, oh, I'm done, I'm going to bed, bye Lisa. The easiest way to muck one up is not to have your needle in the complete upright position before you start to thread. So always before you start to thread your needle, use your needle up, needle down button, like that. Okay, so you know that the needle's all in the right position. If you're on a 500 series and up, you've also got a hover foot, an automatic foot up and down, so you don't have a lever at the back. And when you do that, it will always leave the foot down, because Mr. B. Nina kind of realised that you were going to be a good girl and you were going to do the needle up, needle down before you threaded your needle, and he's left the foot down for you so it's out of the way. So I need to put my thread back behind that little guide up there at the top. Now my hand's going to be in the way. Let me go around the back. No, I can't, Fee. Sorry. So you bring this little lever down, and can you hear that? You probably can't hear it because you're on the other mic, but it comes down, you'll feel it hit an imaginary kind of little hump, and you can hear it click. So So you stop there and then you put your thread behind this little grey knob here on the end. I can't see, I haven't got my long distance glasses on, so I can't see if you can see it, but there's a little bit of plastic, grey plastic, that hangs down at the bottom, and you whack your thread around the back of it. Then push this down, the lever down all the way, and it will bring around the rest of the needle threader so it sits flush up against the back of the needle. Then you'll take your thread across and hold it up just gently at about a 45-degree angle. So look, we haven't set the camera up obviously for doing this, but I promise you my hand's sitting here just gently holding the thread on a 45-degree angle, and then I will let the lever go and the thread go, and it will take it through the needle. Now sometimes, as I've just done then with it pretty slow, it'll pull up the back. You can just unlock that. Now, when you get really far, and this is what's annoying, when you go to a show or something and you watch a dealer that's done it 100 times or 1,000, they will do it super quick. And now I'm too tight and it won't go. What? Oh, I've upset it. Okay. Now mine won't go, Fee. See how that's not looping round? Okay. So, what's happened with mine is that's really weird. It's not pulling all the way through. So what that means to me is I need to lubricate my needle threader. Or I'm just not doing it fast enough. There you go. Went too slow. Do it one more time. Pop it round here. Go down to halfway, put it in, chuck it down, cross and up. It is a bugger and it takes time. So when you're at one of the soirees, if you want to chuck your machine in the back of the car, Fiona, and I can run you through it, more than happy to do so. In fact, I'm probably, because of one of my projects for the autumn soiree and for one of the ones at Garfield, I will probably have a machine in the car with me, because I can see you're going to want to get to the point where you might want to sew a seam. So I will have for sure probably Rob's machine in the car. Well, his is a bit smaller than mine, so we might bring his machine. I reckon that would be the plan. All right, my lovelies, I'm going to love and leave you. Thank you so much for a lovely evening. It's been good fun. And I look forward to seeing you. You're going to want to know when I'm back, don't you? I don't know. Next week's a really interesting week. Next week is a momentous week. Rob's taking a few days off because we have our 30th wedding anniversary next Tuesday. So there'll be no show on Tuesday, but we will squeeze one in there. Well, not squeeze in, we will dedicate time to one. And I've just got to get that bag ready. So I am imagining Wednesday, but as always, look out. I might pop in and see you sometime in between all of that. Not necessarily, Fiona, not in all things. He is very, very smart man, but not in all things. Anyway, so we'll be out celebrating Tuesday next week, but other than that, we'll be around and we'll catch up with you. And Wednesday's sounding lovely, don't you think? Steve's here Wednesday. Let's do it Wednesday. And I might see you before then. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. AQL members, you have got stuff from me today, and there'll be more in there tomorrow. And I look forward to catching you up with there too. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you.